Lynn Redgrave, before and after. Jayne Kennedy, before and after. Our champion ice skater, Ty Babylonia, before and after. A dancing legend, Ruby Keeler, before and after. Jenny Lee Harrison, before and after. Mindy Cohn, before and after. Mamie Van Doren, before and after. Ruth Buzzy, before and after. Our Miss America, Debbie Maffett, before and after. Morgan Brittany, before and after. Normally, when you see celebrities, they're on television or movie screens or on stage. They appear beautiful and glamorous, and that's your image of them. And it's a very real one. I'm Michael Maron. I help create and maintain that image for many celebrities. And as every one of the women in this tape will tell you, they don't roll out of bed looking like magazine covers. But they have learned how to make themselves look their very best. What I want to do with their help is to show you how you can do the same thing. I use celebrity models because I wanted you to see the familiar faces without their makeup. I felt it would help you to understand what cosmetics can and can't do. They agreed to do this because they really believe it can help other women, and I'm very grateful to them. By showing us their naked faces, they also show us something that's basic to my philosophy, that beauty comes from within, and makeup is used to enhance that beauty, to make you feel good about yourself. It's a healthy and legitimate thing. It's not a disguise and certainly not a mask to hide behind. All cosmetics should be dealt with in the whole context of your appearance. Skin care, exercise, and good nutrition, including diet and sensible vitamin supplementation, are all basic to good health. And there's no makeup that will make you look better than good health. As you'll see throughout this tape, you don't have to have perfect features to look terrific, as if there were such a thing as perfect features. No one looks at you as critically as you do.
I have a problem with my lips.
You can chop off my chin if you like.
I'm getting, I call them chipmunks.
I don't think anything has to be done.
Well, Ruth's an exception. But for those who may want to do a thing or two, there's a lot of information in this tape. The first time, just watch it all the way through. You'll be surprised at how much you'll learn. The next time, you might want to make your own index. Set your footage counter to 0 at the beginning of the tape, and then just jot down the footage at any points you think you might want to go back to. Just remember to set your counter to 0 each time you use the tape, and you'll have a valuable locator. I'd like to begin by taking you through my 10 basic steps in makeup application. Step 1, blemish cover. Very few people have an even skin tone. Jenny Lee has a few little red areas, so I use the cover stick, also called the neutralizer, to negate any of that redness. Mindy, like many teenagers, can have problem skin, and the cover stick can diminish any redness in those areas. Just dot it on and blend it with your finger. Ruby has tiny little broken capillaries. The cover stick can hide them. And it's also excellent for any spots or discoloration like birthmarks, scars, and large freckles. Step 2, concealer. Concealer is less opaque than blemish cover. It should be a shade or two lighter than your skin, but you never want to use pure white. Instead of dotting it on in spots, as you do with the cover stick, concealer is applied to the delicate areas around the eyes and to the expression lines, like from the nose to the corners of the mouth, as I'm doing here on Mamie. Though it can come in a cream or stick form, I like to apply it with a brush. And you must be sure to blend with your finger or a cotton swab. In a pinch, you can substitute the blemish cover in some of the same areas. Step 3, foundation. Dot your cheeks, chin, nose, and forehead. A little foundation goes a long way. Although you can use your fingers, I like to use a latex sponge for very even coverage. Also, I find liquid foundations are best for sheer coverage. People often ask me what color foundation they should get. Foundation should match the color of your skin. When selecting a foundation, always test to see how it will look on your face, not on the back of your hand. Be sure you blend your foundation into the hairline and just below the jawline, as I'm doing on Jayne. You never want to see a line where the foundation ends. The sponge helps with this. And for even sheerer coverage, try moistening your sponge with water first. Step 4, highlighter. For highlighter, you can use a cream or powder, but I find it easier to use a shade of your own foundation, about 2 shades lighter. Apply the highlighter, you don't need much, above each cheekbone, as I'm doing on Debbie. Then blend with your fingertips. You should blend diagonally toward the temple. Gently pat, don't rub. Let the heat of your finger blend the highlighter into your foundation. The principle of highlighter is that any light area appears to come forward, therefore making your cheekbones appear more prominent. Step 5, contour shadow. Contour shadow is the opposite of highlighter in sculpting the face. Just as highlighter can make areas appear to come forward, contour shadow can make them appear to recede. For contour shadow, I suggest using a foundation about 2 shades darker than the one you use for your base. Apply it directly under the cheekbone. You can feel the bone with your finger. Blend diagonally toward the ears and keep blending until you see a subtle shadow. Step 6, face powder. Face powder helps set the makeup and reduce the shine. The powder should be translucent so it doesn't interfere with the color of your foundation. It can be applied with either a puff or a sable bristle brush. I'm using a brush on tie since it tends to give a little lighter dusting. Since the face powder is translucent, it doesn't affect face color and is perfect for all skin tones. Note here that once we've set the makeup with powder, we'll be using only powders to complete the makeup application because we can't use creams over powder. Step 7, blusher. Blusher should not be confused with contour shadow. It's color, not shadow. It's applied to the face where you would naturally blush or where the sun would color your face. Apply it with a large sable brush to the fullest part or the apple of your cheek. That's between the highlighter and contour shadow. Blend diagonally towards your ear. Be stingy with your color. If you find that you've applied too much, you can use a cotton ball to soften the amount of color. Step 8, eye makeup. I divide the eye into 3 areas: the eyelid, the crease above it, and the brow bone above that. I always start with the crease to define the shape of the eye area. I'm using pressed powder eyeshadow and applying it with a small sable brush for more control. I apply it along the entire crease of Morgan's eye, forming a darker area at the outer corner. Applying the shadow to the crease gives the illusion of a rounder eye, while making it darker at the outer corner elongates the eye. I find that pencils are the easiest to use for eye lining. To line the eyes outside, I use a soft eyeliner pencil with a blunt tip along the lower lid just below the lash line. Then I repeat the same on the top. You want to be sure to smudge the line with a cotton swab or your finger. You never want a hard line. The next step is inner eyeliner. Since Morgan's eyes are large, we can define them by using a black inner eyeliner on both the top and bottom. If your eyes are small, this could close them in and make them look even smaller. For small eyes, you may want to use a white inner eyeliner, only on the bottom, to open them up. Now that we've defined the best shape for Morgan's eyes, we can add more color. Because this golden color eyeshadow is very soft, I'm using a sponge tip applicator rather than a brush. Softer eyeshadows can fall onto the face with a brush. Although other colors would also look good on Morgan, I chose these brown, golden, and amber shades this time, basically because I like the look. Next, additional color is added to the brow bone. In this case, I'm using Morgan's blusher. The color not only softens her prominent brow bone, but brings more color into her face. Just be sure the color on the brow bone is never more intense than the color of eyeshadow on the lid. Now, before applying mascara, always use an eyelash curler. It lifts the lashes, creating a starburst effect, making them seem longer. Hold for a few seconds. It should never pull. Be sure the rubber insert on the curler is clean. Now you're ready for mascara on both the upper and lower lid. First, I like to use the wand vertically to coat both the top and bottom of each lash from base to tip. Then, holding the wand horizontally, I lightly separate the lashes. Most always I use black mascara on everybody because it stands out. However, a brown or dark brown mascara is fine for a very natural effect. Step 9, brow shaping. Now that you've completed your eyes, you can see the shape that your eyebrows will frame. Ideally, the brow should form an arch at a point just beyond the iris of your eye and taper toward the end. It should never be too thin or too unruly. If you have blonde or gray hair, the eyebrow can be darker. If you're brunette, the shade of your brow should match your hair, but can be a shade lighter. Since Debbie's brows are a bit sparse, I want to fill them in. To do this, I use a light brown pencil to fill in their shape, and then a darker pencil to draw in tiny feathered strokes to simulate hair. You can use pressed powders applied with a tiny brush for eyebrows, but most often I use a well-sharpened pencil that's soft enough to go on smoothly. Then I blend slightly with a cotton swab. You can also use your finger. Step 10, lip makeup. There are 4 basic stages for making up your lips: conditioner, lip liner, lip color, and gloss. Lip conditioner, which usually comes in a stick form, can be applied directly that way. It softens the lips and makes the lip color go on more easily. The lip liner helps shape and define your lips. It also acts as a boundary, so your lip color doesn't bleed. Always try to match the shade of your lip liner to the lip color you'll be using. You'll be blending the two together and shouldn't see the line when you're done. The lip liner should never be so dry that it becomes hard to apply. Draw the line right on your natural lip line if you don't want to alter the shape at all. Always soften the line with a cotton swab or your finger before applying color. Lip color can come in the form of a stick, wand, pot, or colored gloss, but I prefer a lipstick and using a lip brush to apply it. The brush not only makes it easy to define the shape of the mouth, it also allows you to control the amount of color. You should be sure the bristles are short and firm. You want to fill in your outline lips with the lip color, extending just to the outline, but not over it. The final stage is lip gloss. It adds that finishing shine to your lips, making them look good and feel smoother. You've just seen my 10 basic steps: blemish cover, concealer, and foundation to prepare your face, highlighter and contour shadow for sculpting, face powder to set your makeup and give a matte finish, blusher to add a subtle touch of color to your skin, eye makeup to define your eyes, brow shaping to frame them, and lip makeup to give shape and color to your mouth. Now, before I show you some of the supplies you'll need, I want you to know that although it's important to buy good quality cosmetics, you don't have to spend a fortune. Find a good brand, generally available, reasonably priced, that feels good and looks good on you. For instance, in this tape, I'm using the Shackley Classics line. You probably already have most of the basic tools you need. If not, they're generally available at your local drug or department store. You'll need 2 large, fluffy sable hair brushes, 1 for face powder, 1 for blusher. 3 small sable hair brushes for eyeshadow. 1 square-tipped, retractable lip brush to apply lipstick. 1 eyebrow brush or child's toothbrush to groom your brows. An eyelash curler to curl your lashes before mascara. Cotton swabs, latex sponges, and cotton balls for blending, applying, and cleaning. A hand mirror to check your makeup from different angles. And a good pencil sharpener. Now back to my 10 basic steps. Putting on makeup is like painting a picture. You want to start with an even canvas. That's the purpose of steps 1, 2, and 3. The blemish cover and concealer deal with eliminating discoloration, and the foundation over the entire face evens out the skin tone. Everyone's face is different. Not everyone needs all 3 steps. Let's begin with a casual daytime makeup for Jenny Lee and see how the first 3 steps get us off to a good start. Jenny Lee has large, light blue eyes slanting downward, with full brows, a wide jawbone, a slightly receding chin, and full lips. Since Jenny Lee has some reddish areas around her chin and a couple of other spots, I use the cover stick to negate some of the redness. Just dot it on and gently blend. There's no need to use concealer on Jenny Lee since she has no other discoloration. Using a foundation that matches her skin tone, I dot it on and blend with a sponge. Jenny Lee doesn't have any freckles. If you do have freckles, you don't have to cover them up. Why not even out your skin, but let your freckles shine through? If you'd prefer to cover them up, then I suggest 2 sheer coats of foundation rather than 1 heavy coat. Now for Jenny Lee, a little highlighter applied just above the cheekbones will make them appear to stand out. Also, by making this area of her face appear wider, it will help balance her slightly wide jawbone. I also highlight the 2 little indentations that create a shadow on either side of her chin. In this instance, highlighter will help negate the shadow and make her chin seem a little more prominent. Although Jenny Lee has high cheekbones, her cheeks are full. We want to make them appear to have hollows, and so I apply the contour shadow just below the cheekbone. Next, the translucent powder sets the makeup and reduces the shine. So we will continue with only powders from now on. I use a pink blusher for our first touch of color, adding it to her cheeks and temples. Now we begin the eyes. First, a neutral brown eyeshadow helps to define the crease of her eye. Jenny Lee already has an obvious natural crease, but this eyeshadow will emphasize the size of her eye and still look very natural, almost as if she's not wearing any makeup at all. I use brown eyeliner applied very subtly to the lower and upper lid, and of course smudged with a cotton swab. For this light, casual daytime look, the only color in the eye area is a light blue inner eyeliner on the bottom only to act as a mirror to bring out the blue in her eyes. In applying mascara, I always start with the lower lashes first, because the upper lashes, if they were wet, might stain the skin on the brow bone when you're looking up. Jenny Lee's full brows are naturally well arched, so there's nothing I need to do to them. Her lips are full and well-defined, and since we're going for a casual look, no lip liner is necessary. So after the lip conditioner, we go right ahead to color. I use a very light coral lipstick, which works nicely with the light pink blusher. Then the finishing touch, lip gloss. Here's Jenny Lee before, and now with our casual light makeup, perfect for work, school, or play. Now let's take a closer look at steps 4 and 5. Highlighter and contour shadow are complements of each other. Highlighter making areas appear to come forward, and contour shadow making them appear to recede. This is where we actually sculpt the face by creating angles. Let's look at some ways we can use these two steps in addition to making cheekbones more prominent. Debbie's face can appear narrow at the bottom. I apply highlighter just below the hollow of her cheeks and blend toward the jawline. This can make that area seem wider. Ruth, even though she has a narrow face, has the opposite situation, an already wide jaw that can use narrowing. Contour shadow applied below the hollow of the cheeks, blending toward the jawline, can make that area seem narrower. Although Morgan has a beautiful widow's peak, she actually has a low hairline. We can give her the illusion of a higher forehead by applying the highlighter to the center. If you feel that your chin can be a little stronger, apply highlighter to the center, as I'm doing on Ty. I apply it to the center rather than the tip of her chin, since I want her chin to appear more prominent, not longer.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Again, Ruth has the opposite situation, an already prominent chin that we can diminish with some contour shadow applied at the center and blended thoroughly. Also, Ruth's chin is not only prominent, but long. So, to give it the appearance of being shorter, we'll put contour shadow on the very tip. Also, a longish nose can appear shorter with some contour shadow applied to the bottom of the tip and blended well. You have to be particularly careful in using any contour shadow in daylight, and be sure it is well blended. I rarely recommend it for daytime use. Watch the makeup we do for Mindy, and you'll see a few more ways to use highlighter and contour shadow. Mindy has a full face, high cheekbones, far-set eyes that are also deep-set, a wide nose, and somewhat receding chin. We begin with blemish cover on her teenage skin to cover any imperfection. Mindy doesn't need any concealer since she has no dark circles under her eyes or any other discoloration. She does, however, have some redness in her cheeks. So before applying her foundation, I use another foundation with a yellow undertone just on that area to counteract the redness. Then I apply her regular foundation over her entire face to give us the even canvas we want to achieve. Now for highlighter. There are 3 areas for highlighter in Mindy's face: her eyelids, cheekbones, and chin, because these are 3 areas we want to make more prominent. Mindy has deep-set eyes, and the natural fold of her eye makes the area above the lid look puffy. We want to make the lid stand out and the puffy area recede. So I first apply highlighter to her lids. Her cheekbones are high, but her face is very full. The highlighter above the cheekbones begins to create more angles in her face. For her slightly receding chin, highlighter will give it more prominence.
I've never seen that before.
No?
Mm-mm.
Well, see, there's a little bit of a shadow area here, so what we're doing is negating the shadow area a little bit and making your chin stronger, bringing more focus down to this area. Okay, now for the fun part, we're going to use some contour shadow on you.
Oh, it's where I look like an Indian.
Exactly. Let's do that right now.
Okay.
War paint time. Chin down, please, and this way. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
but this makes all the fat go away. Just for a minute.
And now we're gonna make the Indian go away. Because if you see this, that's a no-no.
Yeah.
Now the blending downward. Here to slim the whole side of your face.
Okay. But you don't apply it there at first. You
Right, it's somehow easier to apply it underneath
and then blend down.
cheekbone and blend downward, yeah. Since the area under Mindy's chin is fleshy, contour shadow underneath and along her jawline helps to define it, blending very carefully. Now we can make Mindy's nose appear narrower by adding some contour shadow alongside the bridge of her nose and blending. And then some highlighter directly on the bridge, blended well, will complete the illusion of a narrower nose.
And do you put anything under?
No,
Or
because
could
you don't have a long nose. If your nose was longer, I would shadow the tip.
I don't have a long nose. I love you.
After face powder, blusher applied between the highlighter and contour shadow brings color to her cheeks.
So you actually have 3 colors. I mean, you have dark.
Three
and then-
areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Areas. Dark, then the color, then the highlighter.
Right. Since I already put highlighter on her lids to make them stand out, I apply brown eyeshadow above the crease to reduce the puffiness above her eyelids. This also elongates her eyes, giving the illusion of a larger, rounder eye. I use charcoal pencil to outline her entire eye, being sure to smudge for a soft line. A black inner eyeliner on her top lid helps define her eyes. And a white inner eyeliner along the bottom helps open them up. A slate blue eyeshadow in the outer corner further emphasizes and elongates the eyes, while a shimmery light beige applied to the lids brings them out. Applying her blusher to the brow bone completes the color of the eye area. Next, we can curl the lashes. You know, these eyelash curlers go way back. I bet your grandmother even used them.
Mm-hmm. They're fun.
After a coat of mascara, we look at Mindy's eyebrows. They're already full, but I want to add some additional fullness to the beginning of the brow using a charcoal gray pencil in short strokes to simulate tiny hairs. Then, as always, I blend with a cotton swab to soften the look and keep it natural. Now lips. First, we condition them to help the lipstick go on better. Then, using a pinkish-brown lip liner, I follow the natural outline of Mindy's lips.
How do you determine the color of lip liner you use?
Pretty much match it to your lipstick. It could be a half a shade darker, but
Mm-hmm.
definitely blend it in the same color family, and then soften it with your finger or a cotton swab. For filling in Mindy's lip color, I combine pink and brown lipsticks. First one, then the other. Never be afraid to combine shades of lipsticks to get just the color you want, to go with your outfit or your look that day. Then, since Mindy is young and I want a more translucent look to her lips, I blot them with a tissue before adding the final touch, gloss.
Love it. Great.
Here's our comparison. Notice the planes and angles we've created in Mindy's face. Her cheekbones seem higher and her cheeks appear more hollow. Her chin brings more balance to her face, and now her jawline is better defined. Mindy's nose seems narrower, and her beautiful eyes appear larger. We're up to step 6, face powder. Translucent face powder is used to set the makeup you've already applied and to eliminate any shine. Face powder should always be applied sparingly to avoid caking or a chalky look. In my makeup room, I always use loose powder, and whether I apply it with a puff or a brush, I always shake off the excess first. Some of you may want to use a pressed powder compact that you can also take along in your purse for touch-ups. That's fine. In fact, it's possible to get a loose powder effect from a compact by loosening the powder with your brush. Shake off the excess and apply it in the same way you would a loose powder. Here's another use of a pressed powder, using it wet. Morgan has pale, translucent skin with high cheekbones and far-set, light blue eyes. Her brows are full and dark, her lips somewhat thin. She has a low forehead with a widow's peak. Morgan has such fair, almost translucent skin, and it's so even that she needs no blemish cover or concealer. So for her, I use a damp sponge to apply a dual-purpose wet-dry pressed powder instead of a liquid foundation to achieve a very translucent coverage. Just remember, not all pressed powders can be used wet. Morgan already has high cheekbones, but we can enhance them further with just a little highlighter. Also, we want to give more dimension to her low forehead by putting some highlighter there. Next, contour shadow below the cheekbones.
This is what I'm not good at doing
Why?
on myself. I don't know, I can never really find the spots to do it where it looks real and natural on me. It's
I
very
go by
hard.
feel, like right under that
Yeah.
bone. Since I used a wet-dry face powder for foundation, it isn't necessary to use a face powder before the blusher, unless the skin looks shiny. I used a coral blusher on Morgan to bring color to her alabaster skin. We used Morgan's eyes for an example earlier. Remember, I used brown to define the crease and to outline her eyes.
Are you using brown colors?
Yes.
Yeah, I found out that to make my eyes real blue,
Yeah.
I use copper, or oranges
Right.
on my eyes, and that contrast makes my eyes turn almost turquoise.
Exactly. People sometimes make the mistake of using very vibrant colors that match their eye, or in fact more intense than their eye. And it's a big mistake. I'll sometimes use a similar shade to the color family, but never a bluer eyeshadow than the blue of the eyes. Since her eyes are large, I used a black inner eyeliner on both tops and bottoms, a golden eyeshadow on her lids, and then her coral blusher on her brow bone. Her eyebrows need no filling in. I simply brush them up. After lip conditioner, I use a reddish-purple lip liner. And since Morgan's lips are a little thin, I'll line them slightly beyond her natural lip line to make them fuller. You want to be careful to not overdo this. Then I fill in with a reddish-purple lipstick and, of course, gloss. Using the wet-dry powder for foundation has enabled us to keep that light, translucent look to Morgan's finished face. We're now up to step 7, blusher. Because you've already seen my 10 steps in several makeovers, I want to remind you that blusher is actually the first step that brings color to the now sculpted and powdered face. Ideally, the best color is the color closest to your natural blush. But if your skin is olive or sallow, meaning it has some yellow in it, then clear shades in the pink and red family are a perfect complement. For ruddy skin, coral or peach tones can help balance the redness. Bronze and earth tones, as well as bright corals, are marvelous for a tan face. I'm often asked by people with darker skin tones about blusher colors. I love to use true red for blusher on dark skin. And dark brick shades can create a very dramatic effect. Let's watch Jayne's makeover, and you'll see what I mean. Jayne has high cheekbones, large brown almond-shaped eyes, a high forehead with ample distance between eyes and brows, and a long chin. Jayne's flawless skin needs no blemish cover. Just a little concealer under her eyes reduces the discoloration. Jayne's skin tone is a bit sallow, so I use a foundation that, though it matches her skin tone, has pink undertones. Highlighter above her cheekbones brings them out. It's important to remember that black skin or anyone with a dark complexion should not use too light a highlighter. Often it will contain a bluish-white base, and this tends to look gray on the skin. Be sure your highlighter contains enough color for a natural effect. A little highlighter under the hollow of her cheeks just above the jawbone, helps create the in-out effect. Now, it wouldn't hurt to also add some of the highlighter to your eyelids, just so we'll bring them out some more. Your eyes are not deep set. They're, I would say, right in the middle, but beautifully almond-shaped. It is your best feature, don't you think? If there's such a thing on your face.
Well,
I think
in
everything...
comparison to some of the others, yeah. Yeah. You can chop off my chin if you like.
You feel it's too long here, right? So we'll use a little contour shadow.
Yep.
Yeah. Speaking of contour shadow, I'm going to use that right. Again, this is about 2 shades darker. Now, also, for a high forehead, we can put a little bit of contour shadow right at the top and a little bit at the temples. Not much, though. Now for that trick about shortening a chin, put it right at the very edge. Not the whole chin, but just the tip. Now, of course, you gotta really blend because it'll look like a beard.
That's the thing that I hate when you see makeup and you can actually see where one
yeah.
starts and the other stops.
And now to define your jaw, I'm using a contour shadow down here along the jawline.
Does that emphasize the shape of the jaw?
It can, depending on how dark you go, but I just want it dark enough so it looks like a natural shadow and brings out the beautiful shape of your face. Next, the translucent face powder reduces the shine so we can clearly see the structure of Jayne's face and start to bring in some color. Dark skin allows you more freedom with color, since there are so many undertones, and colors can be more vivid. I've even used purple blusher on black skin with a very natural result. After her cheeks, I add a light stroke of blusher to Jayne's chin, temples, and forehead to add more color to her face. Since Jayne's eyes are large and far set, I use eyeshadow on the crease of her eye, going close to her nose, making them appear larger and rounder, and slanting it upward at the outer corner to play up her almond-shaped eyes. A navy eyeliner outlines her entire eye. I chose navy instead of black because Jayne will be wearing a navy blue and red outfit, and I want to tie in the color. And since her eyes are large enough, I can use black inner eyeliner on both tops and bottoms. Next, a muted shade of blue eyeshadow to her lids to tie in the blue. And then a pearly beige in the center. This brings attention to her eyelids, creating a more sultry, heavy-lidded look. This is followed by the eyelash curler and a coat of mascara. After some lip conditioner, I outline Jayne's lips with a red lip liner and use a true red lipstick and gloss.
I love what you did with the colors. I've always been afraid of colors.
Really?
This is wonderful. Yeah.
Now the steps I get most questions about: eye makeup and brow shaping. As you've seen in what we've done so far, the way for you to do what is best for your face is to first be able to look at yourself objectively and make some basic observations. The same goes for your eyes. You have to examine your eyes and determine their shape. Are they small or large? Are they round, almond-shaped, close set, far apart? Do they slant upward or downward? Do you have a lot of space between your eye and eyebrow? Are your eyes deep set? Can you see your lid, or is it hidden? As you see from our examples, any one person will fit into several of these categories because everyone's eyes are a combination of these elements. I'm going to show you makeup on 2 different combinations. The point is to see how to emphasize the features you like and minimize the ones you don't. There are always several ways to do your eyes. Experiment to see the one or more than one that is most flattering for you. Ruth's eyes are neither small or large, but they are deep set and close together. The first thing I did was put highlighter on her eyelids and the inside corners of her eyes to make them appear less deep set. Now I want to make Ruth's eyes look farther apart. To do that, we have to emphasize the outer half of her eyes. I use a brown eyeshadow, concentrating on the outer half of her eye, following the crease only to the midpoint. Then I add a gray eyeshadow in the outer corners only. By accenting the outside of her eyes and highlighting the inner corners, we give the illusion of her eyes being farther apart. I then use a charcoal gray eyeliner, lining only from the outside corner to about the midpoint of the eye. The earth tones create subtle shades around Ruth's brown eyes so that the makeup remains unobtrusive while making her eyes appear larger and lovelier.
Gorgeous.
Gorgeous. Now, here's another trick that I like to use, using a white pencil. Lining the inside.
Oh, you mean above the lash? Oh, I see.
Right.
Yeah, I can feel
The
it.
ledge of the eye, actually, will add more whites to your eye. Well, let's see.
And here I've done this with black.
Well, black will close it. If you have very enormous eyes, it's better where you want to define the eye. But in your case, I want to make them larger. And see, you have more whites to your eye now.
That's great.
Now I apply a golden eyeshadow on the brow bone and lids for some more color and soften it all with a cotton swab. After curling her naturally long lashes, just one coat of black mascara. Now I extend her eyebrows to a fine taper at the end to complete the illusion of longer, wider eyes. Here we look at Ruth's eyes before and now after, and we really don't see them as close set at all. Now let's look at Ty. Her brown eyes are almond-shaped with the lids hidden. We could go two different ways. One would be to emphasize the exotic look, and the other would be to make them rounder. We chose to play up the almond shape, so instead of putting eyeshadow onto the crease, which would make them appear rounder, I'm applying it to the outer corners only, this time a charcoal gray. In this case, darkening the outer corners helps exaggerate the almond shape. I extend outward, almost as high as the brow bone, to emphasize the slant of her eye. We can make Ty's eyes appear larger without having to define the crease by applying a neutral brown shadow at the inner corners, almost blending into the contour of the nose. I wouldn't do this if her eyes were close together. For eyeliner, I line Ty's entire eye with a blue to bring a little color in. Ty's eyes are large enough to use a black inner eyeliner on the inside, top and bottom, to achieve a more outlined effect. Ty's brows have a wonderful natural look, so all I want to do is brush them up. I add a little hairspray to the brush so her brows will stay up where we want them. After the eyelash curler, I use only one coat of black mascara. Though if Ty were going out on the ice to perform with her partner Randy in a large arena, we'd add a second coat for more emphasis. Here we see the comparison where the almond shape of Ty's eyes are emphasized to play up her exotic features. Okay, now for the final step. Step 10, lip makeup. In lining the lips, you should follow your natural lip line if you don't want to alter it. You notice when we did Morgan's lips, I added some fullness to them by going slightly outside her natural lip line, ever so slightly. In doing Ty's full lips, I apply the lip liner just inside the natural line of her lower lip because her bottom lip is slightly fuller than the top. If I want to bring focus to her mouth, then I wouldn't lose any of that fullness. Most everything I do in these makeup applications is designed to bring balance to the face. There are times you may want to shift that balance, drawing attention to certain features and away from others. A vivid lip color or a dark lip color will make the mouth more prominent. I get most questions about lip color from redheads, and usually I find an orangey shade of red looks best on them. For the most part, redheads should avoid pale pinks or fuchsia lipstick or shades of red with blue in them. I recommend having an orange or even yellow lipstick on hand to combine with the lipstick to counteract blue or purple. I'd like you to watch the makeover of one of my favorite redheads, with special emphasis on balance and color. Lynn has smooth, pale skin with some redness around the nose. She has bright blue eyes with ample distance between her eyes and brows, a strong chin, a nose that can appear a little wide, and a naturally defined lip line. I use just a little concealer under her eyes. And then to negate some of the redness around her nose, I use a foundation with yellow undertones just on that area before applying her matching foundation to even out her skin tone. I use highlighter to bring out her cheekbones and bring width to the upper portion of her face. Highlighter also helps to narrow her nose. Then contour shadow creates the hollows in her cheeks and diminishes her strong chin. Then finishes the narrowing of her nose. After the face powder, a coral blusher goes well with Lynn's coloring. I apply it fairly low, but never below the hollow of her cheek. I apply it low because I want to bring out her cheeks without narrowing the upper part of her face. With the blusher low and the prominence of her chin lessened, we've created a better balance to Lynn's face. Her eyes have a wonderful sparkle that we want to bring attention to. She has a naturally well-defined crease that I'll emphasize even more with a medium brown shadow. I want to mention that while throughout this tape, I've often used neutral browns to define the crease. There are times I'll define with a darker version of the color I use on the lid. I line Lynn's eyes with a navy blue eyeliner since she'll be wearing blue, and I'm going to be using all blue tones for her eye makeup. This is a good way to show you that there are many choices for color. Remember, I used browns and ambers on Morgan's blue eyes. Now, because Lynn's eyes are not large, I don't want to close them in with black inner eyeliner. Instead, I use a light blue inside her bottom lid to open up her eyes and act as a mirror for their color. A slate blue eyeshadow on her lids ties the colors together.
Oh, look.
Wow.
It's rather fun shutting one's eyes because when you open them, it's so
It's a
much
surprise.
better.
Here's a tip for making your lashes look thicker and longer. After the first coat, I dust her lashes with a translucent face powder and then add a second coat of mascara.
You put another coat on top of that?
Right.
Uh-huh.
Coming back to our discussion of balance, Lynn has a full mouth with well-defined lips. If I line her lips and give them a vivid or dark color, her mouth could overpower her eyes. So to draw attention to her eyes, I use a subtle orangey brown lip color without lip liner and complete her mouth with gloss. Here we see our comparison. Now her skin has a wonderful even tone, her cheeks are emphasized, her beautiful mouth understated, and all your attention goes to her bright blue eyes. You've seen my 10 steps and several makeovers incorporating them. I've shown you women who use all 10 steps, others who use less, and still others who use variations on them. Now, I'd like to show you a makeover where the adage, less is more, is particularly applicable. Ruby has tan skin with some discoloration. She has high cheekbones and far-set, round, light blue eyes, which slant downward, framed by full brows. Her lips are a little thin. Though moisturizer is important for everyone, it becomes even more important as you get older, especially before you apply foundation. I applied a light moisturizer on Ruby's fresh scrubbed face. It's always a good idea to apply it while the skin is damp. If you like, you can mix some moisturizer with your foundation and apply them together. After blemish cover, concealer, and a sheer coverage of foundation, I go right to a coral cream blusher. The cream blusher can be more easily blended into the skin, particularly if you have any lines in that area. Also, a cream blusher can last longer if you have dry skin. If you don't have a cream blusher, try using your lipstick as a substitute and blend well. Next, a light application of powder sets Ruby's makeup. I define the crease of her eye with a brown eyeshadow and line her eyes with a charcoal gray eyeliner, using very little on the bottom. I want everything to go upward on the face. Your eyes are big and round enough to use some eyeliner, but we're going to smudge it a lot. A slate blue eyeshadow brings some color to Ruby's face and goes well with her hair color. I'm using a non-iridescent eyeshadow, since iridescent or frosted powders can emphasize lines. Now again, if your eyelids were puffy, I would use more dark. They're not, so we can use more pastel shade. After curling her lashes, I use black mascara and brush her brows up. I outline Ruby's lips slightly beyond her natural lip line with a dark coral lip liner before applying a coral lipstick. Even though there is really a very light application of makeup, it makes a big difference in playing up Ruby's fine features. Now, what if you've completed a wonderful daytime makeup for the office or social function and you're going out for the evening without a chance to go home? You don't have time to remove your makeup and start over. Here are some tips to enable you to freshen your makeup and change it for evening. First, if you find that your skin looks a little tired or dry, try moistening a cotton ball with cold water or have a mild skin freshener along. Gently pat your face to smooth your skin without removing your makeup. Here's my list of essentials for makeup on the go. A compact with pressed powder for shiny areas, lip color and lip liner, eyeliner and mascara, and here's my favorite. This compact lets you carry just the shades of blusher, lip gloss, and eyeshadow you need that day or night. And best of all, it's magnetic, so you can change your shades as often as you like. Basically, the only real difference between a daytime and evening makeup is intensity and color. Because the low light of evening tends to flatten, we have to exaggerate a bit. I've completed a daytime look for Deidre Hall using very little highlighter and contour shadow because she has very defined bone structure. To change this daytime look to an evening look, I start by adding additional blusher. This time we can use more since we'll be in lower light conditions.
Look at the difference that makes already.
Oh, sure.
Wow.
The same applies to eyeshadow. We started out with purple shades on Deidre's green eyes, a combination that seems to make her eyes look even greener. And now I add charcoal gray shadow to accentuate the crease. At the outer corner, I extend the crease upward and outward to elongate the eye. Then a brighter color lilac shadow on the lids for a more shimmery effect for evening. A black or charcoal eyeliner will intensify and define the shape on both bottom and top for a more dramatic effect. Because her eyes are far set, I'm lining her entire eye. For inner eyeliner, Deidre has large enough eyes to line tops and bottoms with black. Like the rose blusher, I use a rose eyeshadow on her brow bone to add more color. With Deidre's lips, we're going to go a little bolder. I use wine color lip liner, applying it just outside her upper lip, so we can make it a little fuller.
You taught me that when we first did photographs together.
Did I really?
Little makeup of mouth, yeah. Still works just great.
Great. Then a matching lipstick for lip color and some lip gloss. Since Deidre has been wearing her makeup all day, we finish with some pressed powder to take away any shine. Here, with the addition of brighter colors and more definition, Deidre is ready for a night on the town. Earlier, I showed you a very light daytime makeup for Jenny Lee. Now, let's take Jenny Lee a step further and see how she can change from day to night. With additional contour shadow, we add more definition to her face. This time I blend the contour shadow lower to diminish the width of her jawbone. I'm using a powder contour shadow since we've already set the makeup with powder. In this case, it's a neutral brown pressed powder eyeshadow that I'm using for contour, applying it with a sable brush. More blusher, more intense this time for the lower light level. Don't forget color at the temples and the bridge of the nose. Now I start on her eyes with a charcoal eyeliner, right over the light brown eyeliner we used before. I line her entire eye and then smudge. Now a black inner eyeliner on both tops and bottoms. A gray eyeshadow is added to the outer corner of her lids and the crease of her eye. Then pink eyeshadow on her lids and brow bone for some more punch. Even though we're going for a brighter lip color than her daytime look, there's no need to remove all her lipstick. I start with a lip liner that is slightly darker than the fuchsia lip color we'll be using. The lip color is a bolder look for evening, and we finish it off with some gloss. Here's where we started with Jenny Lee. Now with a very light makeup. And here's Jenny Lee again. You've seen a number of women representing a range of types and ages. You've watched them go from their private, unmade-up faces to their public, finished faces. You've seen that celebrities, like all of us, have things about their looks they want to improve. And you've watched as we made some of those improvements. Most important, you've seen that there are only guidelines, not rules. So take the time to really look at yourself. Practice applying your makeup the way you've seen it done here. Experiment with different looks until you find what works for you. And have fun with your makeup. I guarantee you're going to look terrific, and you'll feel good about yourself. And that'll make you look even better.